Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Carl here, Stage K, back today, and we are back with the 8th video on the X32 Compact. We are back today, and today we're going to be focusing on the right side of the board. We're going to be focusing on the scene sections, the user assignable control section, and the mute groups. So let's get right into it. So starting at the top, we're starting at our scenes. This is how you store all your parameters, all of what you have programmed in your console. Here is where you store all of that. So by default, when you open this, you will show up on the cues screen. If you want to tab over to scenes. If you want scenes to be the default thing that always shows up when you start up the console, you can go to, when you press view here, you can go to setup, tab over to config, and set your show view to scenes. So in your scenes window, you have a few windows. You have cues, which is where you can set up cues that you can tap through as you go on with the show, where you can automate all of your, if you have a specific setting for one song and a specific other setting for another song, you can set up automations that you can just execute, and it will do everything for you and recall what you have pre-programmed that cue to do last. Now the cues are combined up of a few different things. It's combined up by your scenes, and it's combined up by your snippets. Your snippets is what actually stores your settings, which stores your config, your cable snip name, your gate comp, your inserts for whatever channel, aux, bus, matrix, effects, or monitor, console, talkback, routing, patch, whatever. So in here is where you would actually set your setting. Scenes, however, is where you store everything, the whole scene, the whole console. Your cues is where you combine your scene together with your snippet to make a cue. So let's say, for example, I'm going to put on some music here. So we're going to put on a song here by Ken Ascorp, Absolute Territory. Then I'm going to save a snippet for -20 and save that for channel 4. I'm going to save that. What do you mean snip? It has no data. Ah, lol. Then I'm going to save fader pan. Then I'm going to save that to snippet 0. And then I'm going to call this 20 dB save. Then I'm going to save another snippet for fader pan and channel 4. A -8 or 8 dB. Then I'm going to turn the music down a bit again. Then what we are going to do is take these and combine these with our scenes in our queue. So we're going to create a queue. We're going to add a queue, number 1. We're going to call it territory. And we're going to call it 20 dB. and save it. We're going to select our Stage K demo scene, and we're going to select our 20 dB scene. Then we're going to add a cue number 2 and call that 8 dB. Save. We're going to select the same scene, but we're going to select the 8 dB U. So there's one thing that I just remembered that I forgot to tell you guys, and that is that inside of your scene, you gotta make sure to set your scenes to none if you only want the snippets to be recalled. If you don't do this, it is gonna recall your stored scene as well. So in most scenarios, unless you have different scenes for your individual songs, you need to remember to keep your scene clear and only have a recall for your snippet. But now, as we have a recall for just our snippets, we can take and start playing off this song. I'm going to press go on my snippet here, and it's going to move my number 4 fader up to minus 20 dB. So if I go to minus 20 dB now, and then we're going to load that scene. That brings it up to minus 20. Likewise, if I go territory 8 dB, it's going to bring us to minus 8 dB. Then we go back again. Territory 20 dB. Lowers it to 20 dB. Territory 8 dB. Raises it up to 8 dB. Minus 8 dB. And then we'll raise it up manually. And then we're back down to minus 20. So that's how your cues work and snippets. Then you have your param saves. Now what your parameter saves is basically anything you set in here will not be recalled when you take and load up a new scene. Re-emphasize that. Your param saves, whenever you set a param save, if you load a cue or a snippet, it will not override a specific type of param save. So say you have a specific thing saved. So say you have your effects saved, for example. If you load up scene or something, it will not recall that from the scene or the cue. It will only recall what's not saved. In the same matter of time, in the same matter of fact, if you're on your seeds menu, you can set param saves in there that makes it so that when you resave to your scenes, if it has a param save in there, so say it has a param save for your effects, but you then save your scene again, it will not override your effects that's already stored in that scene, in that preset, scene preset. I hope that kind of cleared that up. MIDI is basically a MIDI event on cue load. So basically, when you trigger a cue, you can tell your MIDI to do a certain things, do a control change to a channel or something. Say you have, say you have an MA2, a lighting console, for example, on the other side of front of the house, for example, and you're the one leading the whole show with your cues. You can tell the MIDI of this console to send a MIDI note that will trigger, say, a pre-warning for, say, 5 seconds on the console, then starts a playback timer when you load that scene. So you can use this to send a MIDI event to some other software or console or whatever to trigger something if you're doing a very time-based and time-coded show. Now we're going to move over to the user assignable control section. As I've told you in the first video, these are 8 user assignable buttons which you can assign to pretty much anything. These buttons you can take and assign to jump to page, for whatever page, are a bit channel, meter, setup, routing, library, FX monitoring, USB scenes, assigns. So this boy, or send some faders, you can actually set up one of these buttons as your send some fader. So it will be your target, section, your target page within that section, and your target channel within that section. You can mute channels. You can turn on and off inserts. You can have it be an effect buttons for any of your effect params. That, of course, can be tapped with a button. So in this case, on number 3, I have my tap delay. A MIDI push button for a control change or a note or a PGM change. In main case, this is a button. It's going to be a note, not a control change, because you do not have a physical button. MIDI toggle. Basically, you can toggle a MIDI note on or toggle a MIDI note off. Remote is basically a remote for your remote buttons for your fader banks. Normally, when you're in DAW remote, you can use your bus 9 through 16 button to select between stop, pause, play, whatever. You can use your group DCA button to select between banks, unload, and save. So a lot of this you can do via these buttons, but you can also put them up here to make it easier to select between automation modes like write, touch, trim, latch, read, drop in, drop out, nudge, scrubbing. So you can pretty much set this section up like you would on, say, in Behringer X Touch. So make this work similarly like that. Show control, well, self-explanatory, your scenes control. Cue recall, well, a button to recall a specific cue. So in this case, I can set up a button, say button 1 to be scene recall for territory 8 dB. So if I press that, you will see my fader here pop out because that's a cue recall. We can recall a scene via user cam. We can recall a snippet from our recall. We can set up stuff with our USB recorder on here. And I also love that that's now lighting up, but that's because it's a recalled scene. Your SD card recorder, which is your X Live card. Your session on your X Live card, and your markers on your SD Live card. And turning on and off your auto mix group X and Y. Then we have our mute groups, which our mute groups is basically where we can combine multiple channels into a single mute group. Now how you assign mute groups is that you gotta press the mute group button on your screen. Once you've done that, then you can hold down your mute group and select which stuff you want to have in your mute group. In this case, this is my vocal mute group, but let's take my sidechain, my bass guitar, my instrument, my guitar mute group right here. So if I turn off the mute group assign, this is going to allow me to unmute and remute the all the channels within that group. And you just press mute group, you just hold the mute group and press select on the channels you want to add into that mute group. Pretty self-explanatory, really. So yes, I hope this was useful for you. If it was, and if you liked the video, a like would be greatly appreciated. And as always, check out links down below of my socials and all of that. And until further notice, stay tuned and stay awesome. And Stage K the heck out of here.